Okay, fasten your seatbelts because we are going to learn and grow with
The
Dr.
Lillian Mcdermott Show.
You're in for a treat. Dr. Forsythe helps the body heal from stage 4 cancers. And he hasn't been on my show since March of 2017. So I get to introduce you my Facebook, YouTube, and my viewing friends and my listening friends to Dr. James Forsythe. Here we go. Dr. Forsythe, I hope you're dancing on the other side.
Right here waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian Mcdermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian Mcdermott.
Well, hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian Mcdermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my mission to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my commitment to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, and now my viewing friend, will be empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of our dreams. What I'm going to share with you today, what you're going to hear from my guest today, is going to blow you away. And I hope that once you hear it, you will always remember it, because you know what? You cannot unlearn the truth. Once you know it, it will fester in you until you decide to consider it and do something about it. Research this, because it is time that we take a stand. It is time that we take our life back. Oh my gosh, I sound like a preacher. No, I'm going to get off my soapbox because I'm going to introduce you to someone who has changed my life, and I know the life of many others. When I met oncologist Dr. James Forsythe, it was in 2015 after I lost 2 family relatives, my brother-in-law first and my father-in-law second, both to the side effects of chemotherapy, both to the side effects of disease. We never know what chemotherapy can do to the body. But it was right after that. One would say that I met Dr. James Forsythe by accident, but it was divine. Dr. Forsythe has a clinical trial that accepts only stage 4 patients of cancer. Stage 4 cancers. I just wanted to say that again, just in case you missed it. He accepts stage 4 cancers. Traditional chemotherapy, and I've shared this before, and it's in PubMed, look it up, has a 5-year success rate of 2.1% in the United States. So, Dr. James Forsythe has a clinical trial that started in June of 2010. And he has a success rate of 70%. Well, at least the last time I checked with him, it was 70%. But can you imagine? Yes, you heard correctly. He has a success rate. Not him. He just heals the body. The body wants to heal naturally. And he's going to share today what his protocol, what he does, how he can help your body heal with very little toxicity. Dr. James Forsythe is not only a board-certified medical oncologist, he's also a licensed holistic physician who practices integrative cancer medicine in the United States, in Reno, Nevada. He has over 20 books. And one of his latest books that we discussed on the show, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com. The book is called Stone, the Truth About Medical Marijuana. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. James Forsythe is back to share what he knows about treating the body without toxicity. Welcome, Dr. James Forsythe, to the Lillian Mcdermott Radio Show.
Thank you so much, Lily, for having me again. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and your audience. And go ahead and tell me what questions you have for me. I'm more than happy to answer anything.
Well, because I know that people can go back and listen to your credentials and your story and your background in the military. Basically, at this point, here you are, you graduated from medical school as an oncologist, you're treating your patients in a traditional way. At what point, we've got about a minute left, what point do you say, something has to change? What was your first aha moment that your conventional treatment of cancer was just not working?
All right, real quickly, Lily, because I know time is of the essence, but I graduated from UC San Francisco in '64. I then went into the Army. I spent 7 years in the Army and as a trained pathologist, including Vietnam. I came out. I decided I wanted to deal with people and not test tubes or dead bodies.
Yeah.
I became an internist and then went right from there into medical oncology at San Francisco, also my alma mater.
Yeah.
San Francisco, and then since then I've been in Reno. But after in the 90s, Lily, I found out that my results over a period of time were not that great, and the literature confirmed my findings. They were only getting a 2% survival rate after 5 years of chemo for stage 4 cancers, just as you had mentioned. Exactly.
Yes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. James Forsythe when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Okay, Dr. Forsythe, sorry about that. So when we got back, we're going to pick up where you discovered how your trials or healing people was so low, and then we'll go from there. I want to discover your protocols, your story. I want to give people a hope, basically. So I turned off so that you know I am recording this for YouTube as well. But I wanted to have your beautiful face on the camera, but and train you how to do it. But maybe next time you come on. Does that sound good? Oh.
I think he can only hear you when your mic is on.
When my mic is on? And if my mic is on, it could be heard in the... How could he hear me before?
Because your mic was on because the board wasn't active.
Oh, can you tell him that we'll be back in how long? Well, how much time do we have?
Yeah, I'll let him know. We have a minute and a half.
Okay, a minute and a half. The next one, I'll go. So, I'm at the recording.
I'll get on the phone right now.
Okay. After the show ends, or maybe during the show, I will explain to you how I met Dr. James Forsythe. And so we're going to continue our conversation. Here we go. Time to dance.
You can text.
Can Dr. Forsythe hear me now?
Voicemail at 407-373.
I wanted to ask him a question.
Right now.
Oh, welcome back to the Lillian Mcdermott Radio Show, where we always learn from one another. Today's teacher is Dr. James Forsythe. And if you're just tuning in, Dr. James Forsythe is the only board-certified medical oncologist who's also a holistic physician practicing integrative medicine in the United States. As I mentioned before, I'm going to share the story about how I met Dr. Forsythe probably later on, maybe on the video. You guys can tune in on YouTube or Facebook to watch this video later on. But it's a pretty divine story. Dr. Forsythe, I'm so grateful that you are up at like 5 in the morning to share this good news. So you were talking about that you started, you graduated in '64, you said, or you went to medical school in '64?
Graduated from medical school in '64. I previously got my degree from Berkeley, I graduated in the top 10% of my class from medical school.
Of course you did. Of course you did. And so, Dr. Forsythe, you became an oncologist, you were practicing, and you realized that your results were very, very small. They were not good. So what was your first awakening? What made you, you spent a lot of money on your education. What made you look somewhere else where you weren't taught to look this way?
Well, practicing in Reno, I was exposed to naturopaths and homeopaths whose patients I was seeing, and I saw that many times they were doing better than mine, who had the typical three cut, burn, and poison remedies, which means surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy in our lingo, Lily. So I purchased a homeopathic clinic, a well-known one called Century Clinic, and became board certified in homeopathy, and that gave me the latitude to go on and do outcome-based studies, which I started in the late 90s, early 2000s with, first of all, PAWPAW, then poly-MVA, then some and then some other outcome-based studies. And a current study, as you mentioned, started in June of 10 and is now 7.5 years mature with 1,250 patients in the study, all stage 4 adult cancers, Lily, and 70% is our current survival rate. In other words, out of that 1,250, 70% of those patients are still alive and functioning well.
After 5 years. After 5 years.
Oh, after 7.5, actually. Lily.
After 7.5 years. We need to sit with that for a while, because if we accept 2.1% survival rate for chemotherapy, we have to understand people aren't dying of cancer. People are dying of the side effects of chemotherapy. And I had shared with you, Dr. Forsythe, before we started the show, that I just wrote an article back in October for Florida Today asking the question, are you chemotherapy deficient? Who is chemotherapy deficient? And why do we use chemotherapy to treat cancer?
I agree, Lily. And Australia did a similar study with only 2.3% survival, and they asked that very same question you're asking.
Oh, really?
It's worth the government's money to spend it on something that's only yielding 2% survival rates. And they questioned whether even giving chemotherapy to advanced cancers was worth it the way they're giving it.
Yes.
Now, in our case, there's no question, because remember, close to 700,000 people per year in the United States die of cancer. If you're saving 70% of that, Lily, it's over 400,000 lives that are being extended, compared to 14,000 versus 400,000 that are being saved by conventional therapy. And you're right, you can die from the first course of chemotherapy. And then even if you live, Lily, for 5 years, which is the termination of their study, think of all the side effects you have to live with: neuropathies, chemobrain, cytopenias, liver damage, heart damage, kidney damage, and even death.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? We've grown so conditioned. We have been conditioned to accept this. And I am done with it. We started the Mcdermott Holistic Healing Foundation to help people pay for alternative treatments. So you're an integrative oncologist. So when people come to you, Dr. Forsythe, which I thought you were the first one to tell me this back when I met you in 2015, which is, you test to see if someone is allergic to chemotherapy. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, Lily. It's not so much allergic as whether they're sensitive to it. We do chemosensitivity genetic testing in one of the top 3 genetic labs in the world. We've used the one in South Korea, the one in Germany, but we landed on the one in Greece. And despite their little shaky economy, the Greeks are way ahead in the genetics department. So we send the blood off for circulating tumor cell analysis. That's CTC analysis, because everyone with stage 4, Lily, will have circulating stem cells. And these stem cells are then harvested, they're cultured, they're broken down, their genes are broken down, And from their genetic material, they can tell those four things that are important, Lily.
Mm-hmm.
The best drugs, the best targeted agents, the best supplements, which include vitamins, minerals, herbs, and the best hormones if it is a hormone-driven tumor, like prostate is, like breast cancer, like uterine cancer, like ovarian cancer, etc. So that's what we find out. So I'm able to hand those patients a blueprint of what is best. It's no longer a guessing game, Lily. I'm not guessing, even though most oncologists, they're well-meaning. I've done it myself for many years, so I know we were well-meaning, but they're not using the best technology to find out, and they're not using only low-dose insulin potentiated therapy, which saves patients all those horrible side effects that I just listed.
Okay, so let's talk about low-dose insulin potentiated therapy and who qualifies for this.
Well, they're given the option. As a conventional doctor, too, I have to give them the option of full-dose chemo, but no one, and I say no one, literally, Lily, accepts that proposition because I offer them, and it's an easy sell for me to say, how about 10% chemo instead of 100% chemo?
Uh-huh.
And pretty much guarantee of no side effects.
Okay, so the 10% of chemo, which is something that I learned from you for the first time that I spoke with you. So 10% of chemo has very little side effects. What are the side effects of 10%?
Well, because it's a homeopathic dose. Anytime you dilute something 10 to 1, it becomes a homeopathic dose, Lily.
Oh.
And so you're just not going to get all the toxic side effects. In fact, our patients don't lose hair. They don't get rashes. They don't get nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. And again, their blood count's held up if they're therapeutic versions. Now, if they are not a therapeutic version, which means that they've had prior therapy, and I use that term knowingly, and I don't mean to be degrading anyone for it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's called therapeutic naive patients, which means they haven't had prior therapy. They do much better, Lily, is what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
In an awkward way. I apologize for stumbling.
No, that's fine. You just need to speak your truth, and we'll discern, we'll translate it in our mind that you don't want to offend. You just know a new truth. Dr. Forsythe, I say this all the time, and I think I'm giving way too much publicity to the Flat Earth Society, and perhaps maybe they're really happy about it. But there was a time people thought the earth was flat. And it took many years, 1,000 years for someone to say, you know what, maybe it is. Maybe there's some truth to this. You have been doing this for a long time. And there are still people that believe the earth is flat. And it's time for a new truth. And you learned this new truth a long time ago. And I'm grateful that you can share your new truth. And, why hold yourself back? I mean, what do you have to, you have nothing to lose at this point, do you?
I really don't. At my age, and I have thick skin. My mother's side was German Polish, so I have very good skin for a late 70s individual. So I can take the slings and arrows, basically, Lily. And remember, I told you earlier, if doctors, oncologists, and medical people practicing cancer therapy do not use either my protocol or a similar protocol in 3 to 5 years, they will be practicing malpractice, and there will be class action suits against them, because no patient with the current technology today should have to suffer through full dose toxic chemotherapy.
Okay, so let's talk about other things. You talked about nutrition, supplements. You give the patient a blueprint. Is this something you can do as a consultant? Let's say I live in Florida and can't fly to see you. Can you do this online? Can you do this via correspondence, basically?
Yes, you can get the kit from Greece to draw the blood. The results come to me, then I connect with you email or phone-wise, and I have a protocol for you that will dictate. Now, you have to find a doctor in Florida that will do the IPT, or insulin potentiated therapy, and there are several in that area that will do that. So I know of at least 3 in Florida.
Perfect. Okay, I'd love to get those names from you later on. But okay, so low dose insulin potentiated therapy. who qualifies for this? Let's say you went ahead and your test results, your analysis comes back and says, yeah, you can go ahead and proceed with this. Are there certain cancers that benefit where other cancers benefit from just nutritional therapy?
Well, all cancers can be used, but if a patient is so close to the end or on advanced hospice care, they probably aren't going to qualify. They have to be able to come and sit in a chair. They have to be, for the most part, continent. They can't be on a respirator when they come in. Obviously, Lily, there are certain
limitations
that we have to use just as a humanitarian measure. We cannot treat everyone if they're too far advanced. But most patients, and that includes 95% of the patients I see, are eligible for the genomic testing followed by the IPT, or insulin potentiated chemo. It takes a 3-week course. Then we send them out on an oral maintenance with the supplements. Remember, we're going to not only get the 2 best drugs for them that are over 80%, and Lily, we never find a drug higher than 83%, they just don't exist, but we're also sending them home with 20 or so supplements, I'm guessing now, because everyone's different. The tumors that respond the best are the breast cancer group, the prostate cancer group, the lymphoma and Hodgkin's group, are the best, but we also see dramatic responses in lung cancer, in colorectal cancer, and in many of the sarcoma group of cancers, even in the chronic and acute leukemia group.
Amazing. It's amazing. So can you share a story? I know that you and I, the last show we did was to honor, one of the last shows we did was to honor Dr. Charles Majors, who went to you when he was given 8 weeks to live, and you helped him live a longer, over 6 years, and when the cancer returned. I want to talk about, Dr. Forsythe, when we come back, why does cancer return and what can we do to prevent it? And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. James Forsythe when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. Hey, Brian.
You.
How long's the break?
It is 8:30 right now. The rejoiner is 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay, I need to step out a second. Could
Okay.
you please tell Dr. Forsythe that I'm sorry I can't talk to him during the break, but what I do want to do is let him know how much time he has, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your skin? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, well, are you using white meats? Oh, thank
Hey, Brian,
You.
can you share with Dr. Forsythe to think of a time where the patient was told that, other than Dr. Charles Majors, that the patient was told to go home and die, and they came to him, and maybe a success story from 7 years ago, or what's their condition today, and this is stage 4 cancer. So, okay.
Yep.
Just keep me. I'm going to tell my story right now of how I met Dr. Forsythe. So keep me honest with time, okay?
Yep.
Awesome. I think I want to share how I met Dr. Forsythe. And I flew out to California back in 2015, right after my brother-in-law ascended, and it was the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. And I was invited to a television show to be a guest on the show. And while I was there, the host was filming other people, and I found out that this particular guest had a product called PolyMBA, which you can find on my website, PolyMBA. And this is something that works to help the people that have cancer have a depletion of these vitamins and nutrients. So they created this, product, PolyMBA. And so I invited Al Sanchez to be on my show. And about a day before of the show, I called Al and said, I know you like your product, and I know that your information looks great, but can you bring someone on the show, a doctor that uses this? And that's when he told me about Dr. James Forsythe. Going back 5 years or 9 months prior, I met Dr. Charles Majors. I wanted to get him on the show, and I'll tell you a little bit more. I hear the show is starting, so
you can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. I am your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we go through life with childlike wonder. Learn from everybody you meet. Make it your goal that before you leave somebody's presence, that you have learned something from them. And Dr. James Forsythe is the teacher today, and I hope and I pray that you listen to what he's saying. 2.1% success rate. This is in PubMed. This is a 2004 study that they did, a 5-year. Australia was 2.3 success rate after 5 years, and the United States was 2.1. How can we tolerate this? How do we stay just so numb to the truth? It's time to take a stand for yourself. It is time to look at alternative ways to heal. Integrative health, they take the best of both worlds. It's just like blending a family that has been broken. You heal and you mend, you come together, and you look at the best qualities of everything that you have. You add more tools to your toolbox so that you can build a better house. And your body is a temple. So make sure that you're using the best tools for your temple. So I want to encourage you to continue this conversation of responsibility at whenyounneedafriend.com. I want you to go there, become a subscriber. And when you do, you get lots of free little gifts, and the show is delivered right to you. And also, I want you to do, while you're at whenyounneedafriend.com, I would like for you to consider going to where my sponsors are. Please support my sponsors. Without them, you would not be hearing the voice of Dr. James Forsythe today. So please consider going to whenyounneedafriend.com, become a subscriber, and support my sponsors. You can also go to when you go to whenyounneedafriend.com, every single button that's there, all my social media, like my YouTube, become a subscriber there, because the video will go right to you too. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to think anything. Just whenever you're on the treadmill or you're taking a walk, or even when you're driving, you can go to the podcast and listen at any time. If you have any questions today, or you're as stunned as I was 2 years ago when I started this journey of integrative healing, especially with cancer, because it's affected our family so deeply, I want you to be able to reach out to me and let me know how you're feeling about this conversation. That's 407-373-5959. So today our teacher is Dr. James Forsythe. Dr. James Forsythe is an integrative oncologist who uses very little, like 10%, chemotherapy in a holistic or homeopathic, as he said, anything 10-1 is homeopathic. I didn't know that. Dr. Forsythe, I learned something new again from you. I love it. Thank you so much for waking up early and sharing your truth.
You're quite welcome, and that is something that we all need to remember, that homeopathy is still alive and well in the field of integrative oncology, if only the conventional doctors would make use of it. And I'll tell you a very quick story. I went to the head of one of the major hospitals here in northern Nevada and presented my data to them, and they looked me straight in the eye, Lily, and said, you know, our cancer center is the financial engine that drives this hospital, and why would we want to change anything we do? So I looked at next and said, I'm getting the message. Because you're making money, you're not even interested in less side effects and greater survival rates. It's because what you're doing now is making you money and you're not interested. And that was the tale they were telling me, Lily.
Oh, you know what? That breaks my heart. You know, we look at Hitler and say how horrible Hitler was. And I'm not saying don't choose chemotherapy. I'm not saying don't choose surgery. I am not saying that. I am asking you to consider something else before you do that. By the way, Dr. Forsythe, when I wrote my article, Could You Be Chemotherapy Deficient? I have this little tree that is completely dead. And it was given to me. It's a Christmas tree. And it was given to me in a tiny little bucket, almost dead, and or like half alive. And so I continued to proceed to kill it completely. And so I took that tree because I was looking at the trees at wintertime and how they go into hibernation. They go like dead. They look dead. But then in the spring, it comes back. How much more? I remember Dr. Charles Major sharing that story with me. How much more is our body going to come back and return to what God ordained for our bodies to be, if by itself, if we continue to destroy it? So I took my little tree, I transplanted it, put it in a new pot, gave it organic soil. I've been watering it and loving it and talking to it. Do you know it's getting green?
That's great. That's great.
It's my little chemo tree, you know, like stop chemo type of thing. Now we're not saying that chemo is bad. We're saying that if you want to use chemo in a holistic 10-1, so that's what you do with the IPT, right?
And we remember we're using the best drugs because the patient's genes have told me which are going to work best and what supplements. So the combination of the best supplements and the two best chemo agents bring the patient into a 95% or greater probability of going into an excellent remission. That's what has been calculated by mathematics department at the University of Utah with my protocol.
Amazing.
Now, let me tell you a couple of stories of
Yes.
these survivors. We have DW from Las Vegas, a 78-year-old, beautiful older lady, single lady who, former bank president, and she had a metastatic disease to her spine and left hip to the point she had to crawl upstairs to her bedroom. She couldn't even walk up the stairs. She is now 7 years out in complete remission. Her scanning shows no cancer. Her tumor markers are normal. Her enzymes are normal. Her physical examination normal, and she walks normally. She can walk a mile and without having one bit of pain.
And she was stage 4 cancer, sent home to die.
Breast cancer, yes, stage 4 breast cancer, and she wrote a book that says "Say No to Cancer."
Oh, I know. Yes.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. She's absolutely beautiful.
And the next patient is a cardiologist from Chico, California, just about 100 miles from here. And he was told by his doctors in Chico that his prostate cancer had gone to stage 4 and was in his spine, in his pelvic bones, and other places in the pelvis and the lymph nodes. And they were told him to go home, get his affairs in order, go on hospice, retire from cardiology, and go sit on a beach somewhere until the end came. He came to see me. He wasn't really a believer, but his wife was. And he told me that he said, I wasn't really going to come, but my wife talked me into it. His PSA at that time was over 700.
Wow.
And he, after a year of therapy, Lily, he's now practicing cardiology full time. His PSA is less than 1.
Wow.
And his scans show no more cancer in his lower spine or pelvic bones.
Amazing.
And he said he's so proud. He did a testimonial for us on Facebook, and you can see it there. He started crying during the testimonial because he said that when he got cancer, the doctors, even though he was a fellow doctor, they were kind of cold and obtrusive to him and didn't really have much feeling for his condition. And he said now he's the happiest guy. He's singing the praises of alternative medicine. So,
and I hope he becomes an alternative cardiologist, alternative medicine cardiologist. I hope you turned him into a believer.
I have. I've suggested that to him. And incidentally, Scripps Hospital in San Diego has alternative cardiology.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. For those of you who are listening to Dr. James Forsythe, he's in Reno, Nevada. His website is drforsythe.com. And Forsythe is spelled FORSYTHE.com. And I will have all the information on my Facebook page. And of course, if you were a subscriber, you'd have all that information as well, because you can just click on his name and it will take you to all his information. So Dr. Forsythe, we only have a minute to this segment, but I want us to really focus on you had said there's some best drugs. What are the best drugs you think are out there that you use as part of your protocol?
Well, we use all forms of drug, things that aren't even suspected to help certain types of cancer, because as you know, the AMA puts out lists of drugs that are acceptable for certain cancers. Many times other drugs come up that aren't even on their list. And also for maintenance, we're using the Rick Simpson oil, the Cannabis Oil that we're very proud of. That has turned around breast and prostate cancer, colon cancer, and lymphoma cancers. And it's rubbed on the gums or taken either vaginally or rectally as a 2-to-1 ratio, THC to CBD. Don't ever forget the value, the medical value of the Rick Simpson Cannabis Oil.
Okay.
It's the best 2-to-1 ratio.
So unfortunately we can't talk during the break because of all the stuff that's going on, but I want to talk about that a little bit more when we return. So for those of you who are listening and you've been told that you have cancer, there is hope. There is hope. You don't have to follow along like sheep to slaughter. When you are diagnosed with cancer, you've had cancer for over 10 years. And let me tell you, you can wait another day before you make your final decision. It is time to take a stand. We'll be right here waiting for you. We'll be about right back. Worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. Like sheep to slaughter. Absolutely. So I want to go back to the story I was telling you with Dr. Forsythe. So 9 months prior to meeting Dr. Forsythe, can you hear me, Dr. Forsythe? No, I guess not. 9 months prior, I went to a workshop and they were talking about Dr. Charles Majors. Dr. Charles Majors was sent home and he had brain tumor, sent home to die. And to get his affairs in order, he was in his 40s, had 2 young kids and a beautiful wife, and was told go home and die. And so instead, he decided to do some research on the internet, and every traditional treatment for cancer, brain tumor that he had said, you're going to die, prepare. So he changed his search and he did holistic, he did alternative. And so the workshop was about his protocol. And so Dr. Charles Majors, I reached out to him to be on my show after I had met Al Sanchez and heard about the product that he had was poly-MBA. So it took us 9 months to get Dr. Charles Majors on the show. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to bring us back to when I talked to Al Sanchez about being on my show the next day. So I was doing some research about Dr. Forsythe. I approved him being on the show, and we did our show, and that's when I found out that Dr. Forsythe only dealt with stage 4 cancers. It didn't register. So since then, Dr. Charles James Forsythe and I have stayed in contact with one another because I'm very curious about his study. Then 2 days later, I had Dr. Charles Majors on the show. And guess what? As I was doing research from Dr. Charles Majors, guess who was his oncologist? Yeah, you guessed it, Dr. James Forsythe. Tell me that wasn't divine. I had no clue, never heard of Dr. James Forsythe, but yet here they were, the worlds colliding. And then that following week, my scheduler scheduled a bunch of cancer holistic because I was now diving into this, and every single one of them led me to the new truth. There are a lot of people that can afford holistic treatments but don't have this information. And there are people who have the information that cannot afford it. That's why I started the Mcdermott Holistic Healing Foundation. I want to encourage you to go to the Mcdermott Holistic Healing Foundation.org. Please donate. We're in the infancy. We're still trying to collect funds so that we can help pay for people who need the help from Dr. Charles Majors. Not Charles Majors, Dr. James Forsythe. Dr. Charles Majors has since passed, but he didn't pass of what he originally was treated. He worked tirelessly and worked very hard to share what was happening, what happened to him. And another cancer came back. And just this year, he was taken, but not without a fight. He was healthy to the day he died. And but there's another side of cancer. And that's what we're going to talk about when we return. Here we go.
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
And welcome back to the Lillian Mcdermott Radio Show. For those of you who are wondering, what are we talking about today, or you're stumbling upon this, and I've had people text me and say, I drive around during your show because I want to learn. And so you don't need to drive around. You can just listen on your radios. You can listen on the internet. You can listen on podcasts. There's so many different ways that you can listen. You can now watch us on YouTube. But here's the deal. Your mind is so powerful. If you were told that you were going to die from cancer, think again. It is in Dr. Forsythe, it is a difficult journey because you really have to get deep into what you really desire. How important is a will to live when it comes to your treatment?
Oh, it's extremely important, Lily, and many patients that I see have already been given the black crepe treatment where they plan their own death. They've been told to go on hospice, take that last cruise, or make amends with their relatives. Again, just like the cardiologist that I spoke about, he's now cured. He's free of disease. He's practicing cardiology. He's never felt better in his life. And he, is one of those things that when you do get a new lease on life, it just is totally energizing to the individual. Yeah. And prayer we haven't talked about prayer. That's very important. Good maintenance therapy. And we think that the cannabis oil will have a role in maintenance therapy down the road. Remember, our treatment is 3 weeks of IVs and then 3 months of an oral pill that is one of the best for them based on their genetics.
Correct.
And then at the same time, starting a maintenance program for 6 months to a year at least of cannabis oil. And we like the 2-to-1, 3-to-1, or 4-to-1 ratios. That's THC to CBD. It has to be in one of those three ratios to be effective. And it's not effective smoking or as an edible, Lily. So it has to be given transmucosally. That means rubbing on the gums, taken as a vaginal suppository or a rectal suppository, and absorbed through the mucosa of the tissue to be effective.
Okay, so that's very interesting. Now, for those of you who are listening right now, you're listening to Dr. James Forsythe. Dr. James Forsythe is a integrative oncologist who has a success rate of 70%. He's been doing a clinical trial since 2010. Now, can people still join your clinical trial, Dr. Forsythe?
Of course, and we're aiming to hit 2,000 patients. Right now, we're 1,250, and we're going to go as long as I'm alive. We're going to continue to accrue patients, because the more patients in the study, the more acceptable are the statistics.
Absolutely. And right now, chemotherapy offers a 5-year success rate of 2.1%. Dr. James Forsythe and other also integrative oncologists that are out there with Dr. Forsythe's protocol is 70%. So if you've been told you're going to die, don't believe it. Don't believe it. Do everything you can. What about nutrition, Dr. Forsythe? What kind of nutrition do you suggest each individual when they come to see you as a protocol?
Well, we have the Forsythe Anti-Cancer Diet book, and we go into all the forms. Remember, all cancer diets are weight loss diets. They will lose weight unless they're taking whey protein or some protein supplement, Lily. But the paleo diet, the Mediterranean, the South Beach from there in Florida, the Zone diet, the Atkins diet, the Budwig diet, the Gershon diet, all of those have a place, and some are better for some patients, some are better for others. There's no single diet that's perfect for everyone, let's put it that way. But they do have to eliminate sugars from their diet, eliminate high glycemic foods, more veggies, more steamed veggies, and less fruit, less grain, very important, and more of a vegan diet if possible, unless they're unless they're a meat eater, a type O, where they need some meat, and then the Atkins diet, which is good for certain tumors such as brain tumors, and triple negative breast cancer seem to respond well to Atkins.
Wow, you've got it down to a science. You have really been diligent about doing this. Now, Dr. Forsythe, as we are wrapping up our show today, people are probably listening to this going, how could this be? Why isn't this out there? I know that you talked about earlier how money is an important factor, and that, imagine the collapse of the cancer industry if we took our life back and said, no more chemo. We're not going to do this anymore. We're going to do this in a way that is holistic for my body. Help us understand the condition of the body when we're diagnosed with cancer. At that point, what is the body telling us, Dr. Forsythe?
Well, oftentimes the body will shut down, and if they're given a prognosis of 6 months to a year, they will die at 6 months or a year, Lily, because the body starts shutting down when it hears that news. We don't like those negative inputs from doctors and who don't have a crystal ball, Lily, just like Charles Majors, who was given 3 weeks to 3 months to live with his brain tumor. And after 3 weeks in our clinic, he was practicing chiropractic medicine for another 6 years. He died of something else. He died of another condition that was separate from his original diagnosis.
Yeah, it was. But you know what? I was talking to Dr. Lorraine Day. I don't know if you know who she is, but she was saying that when you have cancer, you're stressing your body to the max. And he worked tirelessly to share that you don't have to do chemo, that you can do other ways. And he learned so much from you, Dr. Forsythe, and that is the connection. I share the story during our break about how I met Dr. James Forsythe, and Dr. Charles Majors was the one that went to Dr. Forsythe, and how it all came together and woke me up to the reality that we do have choices. And so Dr. Forsythe was working everywhere, going everywhere. He wouldn't stop, but the body said.
His book sold over 200,000 copies. He lectured constantly throughout the United States and Europe. He was very active in promoting alternative treatments, and thank God we have people like him. Again, the lady that I mentioned in Las Vegas, Diana Warren, again, she's extremely active in breast support in her area of Southern Nevada and Southern California. And again, her whole mission in life is to help other people with cancer and to get them into the right option of therapy. Remember, everyone has that option to go one way or another. You don't have to go through surgery, radiation, and full dose chemo. You can say no to all those things. You can be your own advocate, and you should be proactive in that. Please,
Absolutely. Go ahead.
it's the power you have to say no.
Absolutely. Your no's can be as powerful as your yeses. And so Dr. Forsythe, there's one protocol, and this is how I met you, was through PolyMVA. PolyMVA is one of the nutritional supplements that you recommend. And for those of you who are listening, you can go to whenyounneedafriend.com to my favorites, and you can get a 20% off discount. What is PolyMVA, Dr. Forsythe? We only have 2 minutes left.
Poly-MVA is a liquid that contains palladium and lipoic acid, plus a lot of other vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. And I've used it on over 2,500 patients now, but very safe. It causes cancer cells to go into a death spiral or apoptosis. It hyperenergizes them to the point where they go into a death cycle. Cancer cells are so poorly energized that they don't know how to die off. They just hang around until they overwhelm the body's defenses with sheer numbers. So PolyMVA is a very safe product. We use that always in our immune IVs. We use high-dose C. We use the L-glutathione. We use the peroxide. We use the Forsythe Immune Protocol, which is a Myers cocktail with DMSO. We think a lot of DMSO, and we use poly. So we're doing two things each week. We're doing 2 days of IPT and 3 days of immune therapy. We're sandwiching in the IPT 10% dose between 3 days of immune building.
Go ahead. Did we lose him? Did we lose Dr. Forsythe?
Thank you so much, for having me on the show. And
oh, okay. I see what happened. Dr. Forsythe, you are amazing. I am looking forward to having you back. My phones have been ringing ever since. I want to thank you for taking the time to share your story and your passion. Thank you.
To Lily.
And to you, my listening friend, I know that this information is just absolutely bizarre that you would hear this, right? Do your research. Check it out. Because once you learn the truth, you cannot unlearn it. You can get PolyMVA. You can check out my site, listen to other shows. This is Lillian Mcdermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Okay. Brian, is Dr. Forsythe there?
No, he hung up.
Oh, he did? Oh,
Yeah.
He probably has to get back to his stuff, but thank you so much.
Saving the world.
Huh? What?
Oh, he has to get back to saving the world.
Can you believe this, Brian?
Guy's nuts in a good way.
Yes, you have to be. When you are a trailblazer, you should read some of the books that he's written. He's written over 20 books, and he's a maverick. He really is a maverick. And if, for those of you who would like to learn a little bit more, it's drforsythe.com, and you can find him in Reno, Nevada. He also has, if you can't afford the treatment, he has a foundation that helps pay for that. So if you know anybody, send them the show. If you know anybody that has been told that they are sent home to die, put their affairs in order, give them hope. Let them know. Try something new. You can always go back to full-blown chemotherapy, but just try something different and believe that your body will heal, and it will. And the number for Dr. Forsythe is 877-879-0707. I believe that's the number. Yes, I think I've got it here. And he is in 251 Hamlin Lane, Reno, Nevada. But there are other doctors that are integrative as well. We're going to have Dr. Connealy next week on the show. She also has her own protocol. We're going to talk about her protocol as well. But there is hope and healing. Please check out McDermott-HolisticHealingFoundation.org. Donate. Look at what all the options there to heal, and spread the word. Help us. Thank you so much for your time, and I really do appreciate you.